all the same rhetoric was used about man-made global cooling in the 70s.
Yeah.
They just switched it over and then warned the same exact things, more storminess. It was as if no shame. And so what happened was the UN got involved and corrupted everything. In order to be a scientist with the UN, governments have to pick you. Well, governments aren't going to pick skeptics generally. And we're finding out that the IPCC lead authors and the people writing key reports, it's filled to the rafters with environmental groups. And this has come out in a new book, actually, that's detailing all this. This was an activist organization that knew what their global warming reports were going to write years in advance. The head of it, Rajendra Pachauri, has actually said, wait till the next report and see how shocking it is. And the report would be years away. This would be like they were calling the shots. This was not science. This was subprime science. And it's been exposed. It's been laid bare. The United Nations treaty process is now in shambles at the moment. It could always be resurrected. In fact, some of our presidential candidates, Mitt Romney is on record in 2007 as saying he favors cap and trade, but only on a global level, a UN level. Now, I believe he may have recanted that, but it's still a danger. And the danger is, actually, I will argue this, the danger is Republicans who push this, because a Democrat, President Obama, will be opposed at every dumb idea he has with global warming. Republican president, every dumb idea will be supported by Republicans because of partisanship. I would argue that opposing a president, the Republicans' partisanship is the greatest defender of liberty. In other words, when Republicans will oppose the Democrats' ideas, the danger is a Republican espousing these ideas. That's when we have the danger of them actually passing.
So do you see carbon taxes actually come into fruition? Because there's a lot of people who want that in the agenda, but of course it has broken down. There's been a lot of resistance and fight back to the global warming propaganda.
There has. I mean, in 2009, this movement was so collapsed, pre-Climategate, I might add, that even people like Minnesota Senator Al Franken had bailed out of the congressional climate bill. They wrote a letter with 9 or 10 other Democrats saying they couldn't support it. When you lose Al Franken, you have something that's political poison. The problem is President Obama has moved to the Environmental Protection Agency. And despite the fact that the science has collapsed, despite the fact that EPA's own Inspector General found they didn't even follow their own scientific procedures in coming up with this so-called CO2 endangerment finding, the idea that what we exhale from our mouth is somehow now toxic and poison. We inhale oxygen, we exhale CO2, and for the first time, the United States government is going to be regulating what we exhale from our mouth. He who controls carbon controls life. That is our great threat right now. Even President Romney has said he opposes all this now, but the problem is he was so deeply involved in this. He had John Holdren as one of his advisors in Massachusetts when Romney was on his global warming kick. And he also had several key Obama appointments from Obama's EPA that were surrounding Romney at the time as well. So it's very scary to look at that, because a Republican pushing this stuff will be very successful. President Obama, with a split Congress, will be very unsuccessful, most likely. And so voters have to consider that when they choose who their nominee is going to be.
So just for the viewers who may not be following the name game here, you're talking about John P. Holdren, Obama's global warming and White House czar, who calls for a $4 billion person genocide over overpopulation, and who's experimenting with this geoengineering in the atmosphere over global warming. We have Romney of Romney Care now kind of working also with the global warming people.
Yes, and Romney's denying it now, but just keep in mind, Romney reiterated his belief in man-made global warming science. We had the absurd and surreal spectacle this past summer of Al Gore criticizing President Obama for not doing enough on global warming and taking time out to single out only one Republican, Mitt Romney, for his belief in man-made global warming. So Romney is the only Republican to have gotten an endorsement of sorts from Al Gore. Well, Al Gore is unhappy with President Obama. So that's a shocking development right there, which the media hasn't reported, and shockingly, the other Republican candidates haven't reported. Why hasn't Ron Paul brought this up? Why hasn't Rick Perry brought this up? Romney is getting a free ride in these debates. John Holdren was partnered up with Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich proposed forced sterilization agents in our drinking water in the 1960s and 70s. John Holdren opposed the agricultural revolution of Norman Borlaug, who won a Nobel Prize because he fed billions of people. John Holdren opposed it because he didn't want the earth to hold that many people. John Holdren said one of the hazards of a free society is energy that's too cheap. This man has been wrong about overpopulation. He's been wrong about global warming. He's embarrassed himself on global warming. John Holdren, Obama's alleged science czar, has come out and warned of the loss of winter ice in the Arctic. And you can't find an alarmist scientist, Al Gore, to come out and make that claim. He's making bizarre claims that aren't even supported by his fellow ideologues. So this is a man Romney needs to denounce. But again, not a single Republican has brought this up in a high-profile debate, at any rate. And it's stunning to me that Romney is coasting to the nomination.
Yeah, he's really worthy of more scrutiny. Now, you mentioned in the opening how there's record winters, what they're calling a horror winter in Europe, one of the coldest winters of the decade in the U.S. expected. What is that going to do when they try to push this propaganda in the winter season?
Well, skeptics have to be a little careful. We can't use, we can't say every snowstorm is proof that there is no global warming, but we don't really do that. We usually have fun with it. We point out that, there's record snow because it's the global warmists who've come out originally. We had people in East Anglia, the ClimateGate University, actually say a few years ago that the snows are a thing of the past, that children, we had the New York Times columnist saying children won't know what sledding is. So it is always fun when we have record snow and cold to point that out. But of course, Al Gore, global warming alarmist, New York Times, don't skip a beat. They come out immediately and say, well, this is consistent with man-made global warming. The extremes are going to be much worse. Snow is expected. But if you go back to Al Gore's 2006 film, Al Gore doesn't once warn of record snowfalls, blizzards, and increased and record cold winters ahead. He warned of global warming. But this is their ability to shift on a dime because none of the science has gone their way. So they're panicking, and they're now looking. This is akin to medieval witchcraft. They're basically telling Americans now that Al Gore has 24 hours of climate reality, which he had about a month ago now. Every weather event, negative, hurricanes, floods, droughts, hurricanes, are proof of man-made global warming. This is the medieval equivalent of saying we never had crop failures in bad weather until those witches moved in. What Al Gore is saying is we never had this kind of weather until you drove your SUV around. This is not science. This is astrology at its basest level. And there are real human sacrifices today. The Obama administration is helping prevent coal-fired power plants in Africa based on environmental concerns, on global warming concerns. India has told the UN to stop pressuring them to sign on to these emission-limiting treaties because 40% of their residents don't have running water and electricity. In Africa, the country of Chad, they banned cooking by charcoal and leading to, quote, desperate families, unquote, because of global warming concerns. This is a perverse reality where white wealthy Westerners are telling poor people of color, 1.6 billion people estimated who don't have running water and electricity in Africa, South America, Asia, that they can't have what we have. And that is where I think the greatest immorality of this entire movement is. Instead of promoting development, instead of promoting economic growth, we have global warmist activists calling for planned recessions to try to prevent global warming. And they also calling for international CO2 budgets for every man, woman, and child on the planet. So it's a very scary situation. And the problem is both Bush presidents, Bush 1, George Herbert Walker, and G.W. Bush, both accepted the premise of the United Nations was a font of science. Both accepted the premise that global warmist ideologues should be funded at full hilt by the U.S. taxpayers. George Bush didn't stop the funding. George Bush gave intellectual support and legitimacy to the United Nations climate reports. The first George Bush in the early 1990s went to Rio and signed under the UN Biodiversity Treaty, which was the framework for the Kyoto Protocol. What I'm getting at here is Obama has virtually done nothing on environment and climate, comparatively speaking, in his 4 years.
Well, I think we know it is all political, and we do thank you for joining us. We'll keep an eye on that, and I think it's obviously a continuing agenda, despite the presidents on either side of the spectrum as well. Mark Morano, ClimateDepot.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Infowars Nightly News for tonight, Monday, October 24th. Tomorrow, Mike Adams. Wednesday, Alex Jones returns from his trip out to the West to do TV work. He'll be back. Stay with us and help support Infowars Nightly News. Spread the word to your friends, family, and contacts. November 3rd, 2011, Infowars Money Bomb. Good night.
Our mission at Infowars.com is to audit the Fed, abolish the Fed, restore the Constitution, abolish the TSA, restore the Second Amendment, restore the Constitution, restore the Republic. And if you believe in those goals, then it is your free will, responsibility, and honor to spread the word about our operation and to donate to the 2011 money bomb. For many years, I tried to basically stay small, make my films, do my radio show, but it grew and grew and grew. Think about how a money bomb that listeners started 4 years ago led to us being able to move into this bigger office. A later money bomb helped us expand into the empty warehouse next door. And in the last year, we have built the TV studios and put the equipment in and are now doing a nightly news show every night at 7 o'clock that we're now beta testing and getting ready for television. Right now going out to members at prisonplanet.tv and then reaching millions as it spills out onto YouTube and other systems. Help us go to the next level. Not reaching 15 million a week, but reaching 30, 40, 50 million a week. Our growth curve is exponential, but we need to hit our afterburners and turbocharge. History is happening now. The war for human liberty against total dehumanization is on now. Join us Thursday, November 3rd at Infowars.com. We're going to have a 24-hour plus live transmission with guests and interviews starting at 11 a.m. and running into my next radio show the next day. We're going to have a huge lineup of liberty-loving patriots from all over the world joining us. It's going to be amazing. And this money bomb is going to have a lot of new things added to it that's going to make it even more powerful than past years. So please donate at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com or Infowars.com/moneybomb, or simply spread the word about the money bomb. Stand with Infowars.com and my incredible crew and all of our other supporters and help us get the word out even more. The ball is in your court. The rest is up to you. It's Infowars Money Bomb 2011, November 3rd. It kicks off 11 a.m. Visit the website at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com, Infowars.com/moneybomb.